video is a walkthrough, or overview, I guess you could call it, for DBQ Online, How Did the Nile Shape Ancient Egypt? Starts with an image here, a wall painting. A wall painting from the tomb of Senefer, mayor of Thebes and overseer of the royal gardens during the reign of Amenhotep II. Okay, an overview. Ancient Egyptian society lasted almost 3,000 years, starting with the unification of Egypt and ending when the Romans conquered them in 30 BCE. We're going to be focusing on the mighty Nile, often called the longest river in the world, which flowed through this rich and vibrant civilization. Okay, we're going to explore how the Nile affects the people of ancient Egypt. As you can see, we have 5 documents that we'll be looking at. One is a map, one is a chart, one is an image, I believe it's actually an illustration. We have a tomb painting, and then a hymn, which is sort of like a poem. With the hook exercise, okay, you are an elder in a goat-herding tribe of 500 people. Raiders to the north are forcing you off your land. You send out a small party of scouts armed with your prayers to search for a new homeland. Okay, this is the map that they've created. Looking at this map closely, okay, you can see that there are 5 different options for where you could settle, right? And it asks which site would you recommend to the council and why. Okay, so you are looking at some pros and cons. Remember to add a text box. You're going to go up here on the toolbar. Okay, click on the text box, right? So for site A, pros and cons, okay, obviously we have some pros, right? That we are near the sea and also near the river, right? We're also near the original homeland, okay? Those are all good things, benefits, right, of being in that location. Okay, then we have some cons. Okay, it looks like we are close to the attack-a-lots, right? So we're going to assume those are people who attack a lot. We are also in the floodplain, so that flooding could possibly cause some destruction, right? We also see Dead Waters Bay, which, you know, we don't have a lot of context there, but one could assume that it's kind of dangerous, right? So, some cons, right? We have dangerous bay, we have the attack-a-lots, right? Those are things that are not helpful to us, right? And then it's also located in the floodplain, right? And so those are our pros and cons for this site A right here. And I'm not going to do all of these with you guys because the goal is that you're going to do it by yourselves, but I just thought I could pick a couple to go through. All right, looking at site B, right over here, which is by the copper mine. Okay, we're going to start with our pros, right? So pros, it's still close to homeland. Not as close as site A, but still close, right? They're also going to have the mountains, right? And they're going to have river access. So we'll say river access. Now, in this case, the mountains do not protect them from the attack-a-lots. They do, you know, create a barrier, right? But they don't necessarily offer protection. I guess it would really depend on, you know, there's some unknown here to the right. And I guess if there was some group that, you know, came over and tried to attack them, then the mountains would, you know, help with that. But in this case, it seems like they're not, right? But it is still close to the homeland. They do have river and freshwater access, right? And then they have, you know, copper, which is going to be good for tools, as well as, you know, cooking, etc. Now, some cons, right, of being there, in floodplain, right, and so that could cause damage when it does flood, right, and they are also still close to the attack-a-lots. Right, and so obviously they haven't distanced themselves enough, and they are still, you know, possibly going to be attacked a lot, right? As you go through this one, you would finish it adding your own thoughts for pros and cons, and then which site would you recommend to the council and why? This is one of those questions where there's not necessarily a correct answer, but there is, you know, a best answer. And so Just putting in your thought and focusing on your argument to support your answer is what's really going to matter for the hook exercise.